Hello and welcome to the NASCAR News Zone, the show where we take you through all the biggest stories in the world of stock car racing right now. This week, we question whether NASCAR's playoff system needs to change, we react to Corey LaJoie becoming a TV analyst for a NASCAR broadcaster, and we also preview this weekend's season opening cookout clash at Bowman Grace Stadium in North Carolina. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in, guys. So one of the most controversial things in NASCAR is without a doubt its playoff system, which has been in place for quite some time now, but whether it needs to change or not is the subject of a lot of debate in NASCAR. For my money, something closer to what we used to have with the chase system back in the 2000s and early 2010s would be more fair in my opinion, but I know that not everybody was a fan of the chase either. Some people want to go back to the original format where there's no playoffs, where every single race is effectively equal, and I understand the arguments for that. Now apparently NASCAR is considering a change in the format for the playoffs for the 2026 season onwards. Let's have a look at this, guys. Full article on the Motorsport Reports. Let's see what the NASCAR governing body are saying about the playoffs. NASCAR officials announced during a recent competition briefing that while the playoff format will remain unchanged for the 2025 season, the sanctioning body is open to exploring potential changes for the 2026 campaign. The 2025 season is set to kick off with the exhibition cookout clash at Bowman Grace Stadium on Sunday, the first NASCAR event at that ground, actually that racetrack, in over 50 years I believe, and we will be previewing it here on the NASCARchronicle.com as well. John Prost, NASCAR's Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer, emphasized the importance of avoiding frequent minor adjustments to the playoff system. He said, and I quote, "I don't think that we want to get in the habit of making small little tweaks every season to the playoffs," end quote, Prost stated. Instead, NASCAR plans to assemble a working group consisting of media members, OEMs, Goodyear, the tire supplier, and drivers to examine the playoff structure holistically throughout the year. The decision to maintain the current format for 2025 comes amidst ongoing discussions regarding eligible championship contenders, with defending champion Joey Logano advocating for the existing system following his victory at Phoenix Raceway in November 2024. I wonder why, Joey. I wonder why. For those that aren't aware, I think if you took the whole points throughout the entire season in 2024, Logano was about 15th, I think, overall, the lowest ever champion effectively. But if you're in, you win. Even if you're not the best throughout an entire season, if you're the best through the playoffs, you will win the entire championship, which a lot of people don't think is fair, and I understand why. Prost acknowledged the varying opinions among fans, ranging from those who would love the playoffs to those who would believe certain drivers should automatically qualify based upon their performance. While no specific changes have been proposed and alterations for the 2026 season are not guaranteed, NASCAR is committed to gathering input from key stakeholders to determine if any modifications are necessary. "We just didn't get to a point where we felt like we have to," Prost explained. "But we have heard the fans loud and clear and are looking at it actively." In a November State of the Sport address, NASCAR President Steve Phelps and Chief Operation Officer Steve O'Donnell reaffirmed the sanctioning body's commitment to the playoff system while remaining open to potential tweaks. "We are not going away from the playoffs," O'Donnell stated. "We will absolutely look at what the form the playoffs take in the off-season. You always learn. But playoffs in of itself, as Steve said, you cannot argue with the quality of racing that the playoffs have delivered. They have been dramatic. Let's not... Fair is the questionable part, but dramatic it definitely has been, in my opinion. The current 16-driver 4-round elimination format, which determines the NASCAR Cup Series champion, has been in place since 2014, with the most recent significant change being the introduction of stage racing and playoff points in 2017. The Xfinity Series and the Craftsman Truck Series have employed a similar format since 2016. As NASCAR continues to evaluate the effectiveness of its playoff system, fans and industry members alike will eagerly await any potential changes that be implemented for the 2026 season and beyond. So yeah, a lot to go through there. I mean, I've given my thoughts about the playoff system in NASCAR. I did that towards the back end of last year, kind of in a response to Joey Logano winning the championship, which of course the rules allowed him to do so, but a lot of people were saying that it's not fair, and I understand that viewpoint. It's really tough. It's really tough with NASCAR because NASCAR wants, and rightfully so, wants every single race in the NASCAR Cup Series to be important for the championship, to have some bearing on the championship. And the only way to absolutely 100% ensure that is to have a final race in the playoffs for the final round, which determines the champion. Even having the old chase system, in theory, you could have a scenario where someone has won the championship before the final race, usually in Phoenix. Obviously, back in the day, it was at Homestead in Miami, of course. So yeah, it's a tough one. NASCAR wants drama throughout. They want every race to be important, and I understand that viewpoint from a financial and a shareholder's point of view, but some people think that it's a bit gerrymanderish to gerrymanderish, I mean, that's a word I've just kind of made up there, but gerrymandering is basically where you kind of manufacture things. It's artificial. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very hard to ensure that without making it a gimmick, effectively, and that is arguably what the playoffs have become. And like I said, Logano won a race in all the first 3 rounds, and then obviously I think he actually won the final race at Phoenix, or at least was the highest placed driver at the end. And that effectively means if you win 5 races throughout the NASCAR season at certain points, in specific points, you will be going through as the champion. You will win the championship in that scenario. And in the rest of the races, in the other 35 or so races throughout the season, effectively you can just be rubbish. You could be terrible. I mean, you won't be because you're winning races, but it is not unrealistic to see a scenario where Logano or someone else has a similar season to what Logano had in 2024 and becomes champion. And I totally get it. I totally get it, man. I totally get why people are annoyed. Personally, for me, I'd go back to the old chase format. 10 races like we have now in the playoffs, but there's no rounds or anything like that. The best 10 drivers, well, the best 12 drivers, and the best of those drivers, they win the championship from them 10 rounds. I feel like that is more representative. It's still a little gimmicky, of course, though, and it's very difficult to go back to the old. I don't ever see us not, going back to the old system without playoffs. From a marketing point of view, NASCAR will always want that. They will always want that final race decider. So, or at least they'll want the playoffs. So, what do we do, guys? Let us know in the comments what you think. I want to hear your viewpoints on this. It is a very controversial issue, and I don't feel like there's a perfect solution. We've just got to try and make the best of what we can. But what is that situation? What is the best format for a NASCAR end of season playoffs? Would you even have the playoffs if you had the choice? Your thoughts in the comments below. So, Corey LaJoie was out of a NASCAR Cup Series drive after the 2024 season, with some people thinking maybe he'll go down to the Xfinity Series, maybe he'll do something else. This seems like the something else. He's going to balance both driving and broadcasting during the upcoming 2025 NASCAR season. So let's dive into this, guys. Let's have a look at what LaJoie is going to be up to this season. The full article on motorsportreports.com. NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie has revealed his plans for the 2025 season. These include running a limited Cup Series schedule with Rick Ware Racing (RWR) and serving as an analyst for Prime Video's coverage of the Cup Series. LaJoie built the number 01 Ford Mustang for RW as he works to establish his Stacking Pennies performance brand. While the exact number of races LaJoie will enter has not been disclosed, the 33-year-old driver has confirmed his intention to qualify for the season-opening Daytona 500 next month. LaJoie's number 01 car, sponsored by Duramax and Take 5 Oil Change, does not have a charter, meaning he will need to secure one of the 4 open spots in the Daytona 500 field through either time trials or his qualifying race. And of course, the Daytona 500, when it comes to those qualifying positions, you've got the likes of IndyCar legend Helio Castro Neves in there. You've got former champion Martin Truex Jr. trying to qualify as well. So it's going to be very difficult to get into that field for the 500, but we'll have to see how it goes for LaJoie. Speaking about the partnership, LaJoie praised team owner Rick Ware, stating, "Rick Ware is someone who makes things happen. He's a great guy who has been a generous friend in helping me get this vision of the Stacking Pennies performance off the ground. He's allowed me to put the number 1 on his Ford Mustangs, building off-brand fans related to, supported and cheered for over the past several years. The number 01 car represents the Stacking Pennies concept LaJoie has developed, which emphasizes the idea that small victories lead to great success. LaJoie's Stacking Pennies podcast has become one of NASCAR's most popular shows, so clearly he's got some kind of clout when it comes to the media side of things, so best of luck to him, you know. It's always good having a former driver finding something, well, former full-time driver I should say, he's part-time driver this season, but, you know, after you lose that permanent drive, it must be difficult to transition after that, but it seems like LaJoie's doing pretty well for himself. In addition to his driving duties, LaJoie will also make the transition to the broadcast booth when Prime Video begins its 5-race NASCAR coverage in May, starting with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. Reflecting on his career, LaJoie said, "In many ways, my driving career has been more successful than I ever could have dreamed. Yet I lose sleep feeling I never quite reached my full potential behind the wheel. The pursuit of bettering myself and others around me has never been more important than it is right now. My presence on the track will look different than it did in previous years, and it's going to bring a whole new host of challenges, but my heart is set on making a lasting impact in the sport and the communities NASCAR reaches." Corey LaJoie, the son of two-time Xfinity Series champion Randy LaJoie, has yet to secure a victory in NASCAR's 3 National Series since debuting in 2013. Over the past 8 years, he's competed in the Cup Series, spending most of the last 4 seasons with Spire Motorsports. Despite recording 4 top 5 finishes with the team, LaJoie's best result in the Cup standings has been 25th overall. This is something that needs to be said at the end of the day, you know. LaJoie making it to NASCAR is an incredible achievement. It's an incredible achievement for any driver to make it to a top-level motorsport series in their field, whether it's Formula 1 for open wheel racing, whether it's NASCAR for stock cars, whether it's in, you know, the WEC, the World Endurance Championship for endurance racing and hypercars. You know, it's an incredible amount of effort and talent that goes into doing that. So, you know, fair play to the guy. But unfortunately for me, in my opinion, I know in a lot of other people's opinions too, he just wasn't good enough for the Cup Series to be consistent. I mean, you can point to those top 5 finishes over a long career in NASCAR, like what, 10 years, 7 years, something like that. He was in the Cup Series for, you know, you're talking, how many starts has he had? Like over 200, 300 probably at that point. So, you know, it's good that he's done that. It's impressive he's done that, but to be a consistent performer and someone who brings the car home with a lot of wrecks in 2024, it's not him. It's not him. And, you know, fair play to him still keeping that desire alive to try and qualify as a non-chartered entry. That is not an easy thing to do, of course. And yeah, he seems to be doing well with his podcasting. He's going to be an analyst on Prime Video for Amazon as well for their coverage too of NASCAR. So best of luck to him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's found something. Because I did criticize him a lot last season, but I hold no ill will against the guy. I want him to do all right. I just felt that he was not really good enough for NASCAR, to be honest with you, not for the Cup Series, and I feel like other people deserve that drive instead of him, and that's happened now. So, guys, what do you think? Are you surprised that LaJoie's sticking around in NASCAR as a part-time driver and a part-time analyst for Amazon Prime? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson has become a majority owner of Legacy Motor Club. Johnson, I imagine, has a few dollars lying around, so it makes sense that he wants to increase that business portfolio, and of course, he's a guy that still enters NASCAR Cup Series events every now and again as well. I believe he's entering the Coke 600 and the Daytona 500 this season coming up as well. So let's have a look at what's going on here, guys. Full article on motorsportreports.com. In a major restructuring move, 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson has become the majority owner of Legacy Motor Club, following an investment by Knighthead Capital Management into the Cup Series team. The private equity firm, which manages around $9 billion in assets and has a diverse portfolio that includes investments in various automotive and sports ventures, has acquired a significant portion of the ownership stake previously held by Legacy co-owner Maury Gallagher. According to Johnson, who spoke to the Associated Press, the deal positions Knighthead as a significant minority partner in the NASCAR team. Gallagher will retain some shares in Legacy, but will step back from day-to-day operations, joining Hall of Famer Richard Petty, the King himself, as an ambassador for the team. "I thought I was going to have 3 more years to understand ownership more," Johnson told AP, referring to his original plan where he bought into the NASCAR team before the 2023 season. However, the timeline has accelerated due to Johnson's developing relationship with Knight and Gallagher's decision to reduce his involvement. Legacy Motor Club is essentially a rebuilt version of Petty Enterprises, one of NASCAR's most historic and successful successful teams. The team has undergone several rebrands in recent years, starting with Gallagher's acquisition of Richard Petty Motorsports in 2021, which led to the formation of Petty GMS Racing. Johnson joined the team at the end of 2022, prompting another rebrand to Legacy as the team expanded to 2 full-time Cup cars for the following season in 2023. Tom Wagner, co-founder and co-managing member of Knighthead Capital, expressed enthusiasm for the partnership, stating NASCAR's rich history and legacy MC's ambition and innovation make it a unique opportunity. We are thrilled to collaborate to drive the team forward both on the track and within the wider racing community. They could be raging though, they could be quite angry of course. While NFL legend Tom Brady has stakes in Knighthead, Johnson clarified that the deal with Legacy does not currently involve him. However, the two have discussed the possibility of partnering on an Indy 500 entry for driver Seb Bourdais with Chip Ganassi Racing, although Ganassi noted that only a preliminary conversation has taken place thus far. In the upcoming season, Legacy will field 2 full-time cars, the number 43 Toyota driven by Eric Jones and the number 42 Toyota piloted by John Hunter Nemechek. Johnson himself will attempt to qualify for the 500 next month and the Coke 600 in May. As he approaches his 50th birthday in September, that is making me feel old. Johnson acknowledged that Legacy needs him more in his executive role than as a driver, a realization he had during the season finale in Phoenix last year. He expressed gratitude for the opportunity to become a NASCAR team owner and is eager to help improve Legacy's on-track performance while working with Knighthead to expand the brand. He has been an outstanding partner, mentor and friend. I am grateful we had the opportunity to work together, Johnson said. I've learned so much from him, and as a professional in this field, he takes a different path. He can worry less about being an owner and more about focusing on family and enjoying life. And that is what it should be, man. Just go out and enjoy life. Because at this point, probably has enough to retire if he wants. But, you know, a lot of people do things because they obviously must enjoy it on some level. So, yeah, it's cool to see him stepping up as a team owner. It's inevitable, isn't it? Johnson's an absolute legend of NASCAR. I know there's a fair few people there that don't like him. I didn't used to like him back in the day because, you know, he used to win all the time. But, you know, looking back on his career now, dude's a legend. I mean, you don't win 7 championships and not be a legend. I'm not going to get into the GOAT debate. I actually had that debate a long time ago. You can find out who I picked. It was one of the 7-time champions, but which one? There's 3 of them. I've talked about 2 of them today. Goal Intimidator is the one we've not mentioned until just now. So yeah, one of those 3 dudes. But yeah, I mean, it's good stuff at the end of the day. I'm looking forward to see him hopefully qualify for the 500 in Daytona next month. So by the time you watch this, depending on the platform, might be this month. It's coming up very soon. So we'll be here to cover it on the NASCARchronicle.com as always. So got a news announcement regarding Trackhouse Racing. They're teaming up with Red Bull for the upcoming 2025 season. Let's have a look at the full story here on the motorsportreports.com. Like I said, this is a site we're going to be seeing a lot over the weeks and months to come and beyond, of course. Let's just read out this announcement and what it means for both Trackhouse and Red Bull as well. Trackhouse Racing announced today that Red Bull will serve as the official energy drink of Trackhouse Racing and the primary partner on Shane Van Gisbergen's number 88 Chevrolet in 5 NASCAR Cup Series races, as well as the Cup Series debut of 18-year-old Connor Zilisch, who will drive the number 87 Red Bull Chevrolet at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas on the 2nd of March. It's an incredible chapter in the history of Trackhouse Racing to welcome Red Bull back to NASCAR, said Trackhouse founder and owner Justin Marks. Red Bull is one of the most powerful brands in the world, and it's an honor for us to embark on a partnership with such an iconic company. Red Bull and Trackhouse share a passion for racing stories and memorable experiences. This is a huge win for our sport and a moment that will resonate with millions of NASCAR fans around the world. I'm thrilled for Connor, Shane and every member of Trackhouse to partner with who I consider to be the greatest motorsport company in the world. We are more than honored to welcome Red Bull to the Trackhouse Racing family. SVG has been a Red Bull athlete since 2016 when the Auckland, New Zealand native raced in the Supercars series when he won titles in 2016, 21, and 22, and scored 78 wins and 47 pole positions, making him the fourth most successful driver in the history of the series. He also won the Bathurst 1000 in 2020 and 22. He made his NASCAR debut at the Chicago Street Race in 2023 as part of Trackhouse Racing's Project 91 program, marks created to give international racing stars an opportunity in NASCAR. SVG took advantage, becoming the first driver in 60 years to win on his Cup Series debut. That victory led to SVG moving to America as a Trackhouse development driver and competing for Cowlig Racing in the Xfinity Series, where he won 3 times in 2024. In 2025, he embarks on his rookie year in the Cup Series. SVG will drive the familiar Red Bull paint scheme at the 16th of March race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, July 13th at Sonoma, California Raceway, where he won in the Xfinity Series last season, I believe, on the 3rd of August at Iowa Speedway, on the 23rd of August at Daytona, Florida International Speedway, and the 28th of September at Kansas. I have enjoyed a lot of new experiences and met a lot of new people since coming to NASCAR, but it is nice to be joined by Red Bull, who has been a big supporter of mine for many years back home, said Vangen. I'd love nothing more than to give Red Bull a victory as a way to thank them for joining myself, Connor, and Trackhouse Racing. Zilich, a Trackhouse Racing development driver, stormed onto the racing scene in 2024, compiling an impressive resume that includes running his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut at Watkins Glen International, plus 2 Craftsman's Truck Series poles victories at the Rolex Daytona 24 Hours. Was that last year? I can't remember now, but it happened at some point. And the 12 Hours of Sebring, 4 ARCA races and Cars Tour events as well. Zilich is racing full-time in Xfinity for JR Motorsports. He already has a relationship with Red Bull when the company selected him as a Red Bull athlete in August. I was surprised when they presented me my Red Bull helmet and hat last summer, and doubly surprised when they told me I would make my Cup debut in the 87 powered by Red Bull paint scheme, said Zilich, who joined Van Gisbergen in a social media video released today announcing the race sponsorship and new partnership with Trackhouse Racing. Red Bull is going to bring a lot more eyes into NASCAR, and I think everyone will win when that happens. Yeah, I mean, Red Bull used to be in NASCAR with Scott Speed back in the day. I remember after he left Formula One, he went to NASCAR and didn't do pretty well in NASCAR either, to be fair, but he was sponsored by Red Bull still at that point. I don't know if they've been in since. I'm just trying to think now. It's hard to remember, but I know they were in the past, and hopefully they'll be in, with a place higher up the grid. Red Bull loves to invest in extreme sports and motorsports, things that appeal to young people. Formula One, of course, being one of the standouts of those. And yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that NASCAR is attracting this kind of sponsors. NASCAR is not struggling for sponsors, but sponsors based outside the United States, I think, with a more global appeal is a good thing. And of course, SVG being from New Zealand as well, that also helps the kind of global appeal of NASCAR for me. That is what NASCAR needs to kind of go to the next step. And of course, controversial, I know, the fact they're going to Mexico City this season, but I'm all for it because, again, you've got that international appeal there. So yeah, what do you think, guys? Are you excited to see Red Bull back in NASCAR? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. After a long winter away, NASCAR Cup Series action is back this weekend with the Cookout Clash at the Bowman Gray Stadium in North Carolina. I think this is the first time that we've had a NASCAR event of any kind taking place at this track since the early 1970s. I'm sure I saw a stat that said it's been the first time since 1971 that this has been included. It's something that has been very much on the cards for some time now. Now I'm going to preview this event and explain what it is as well, because it is not the start of the Cup Series season proper. And what I mean by that is that this is a non-championship event. It will not have any bearing on the standings. There will be no points handed out for this, but it is essentially a warm-up event, just like the warm-up event we have in Daytona before this as well. But this is obviously as well on top of that a proper warm-up that everybody will compete in. The duel at Daytona is effectively basically to determine who is going to get through and race at the Daytona 500 later that week. But yeah, this is a really big one. This is a really big one. We've got pretty much a full entry list here, a full roster of NASCAR Cup Series drivers. Like I said, this is a non-championship event. It will have no bearing on the championship, just like the All-Star race throughout the season as well. That has no bearing on the championship either. So let's go into 5 drivers I'm looking out for. Because, you know, at the end of the day, there's been a few changes in NASCAR, a few drivers coming in, a few older drivers, of course, returning full-time as well. So I'm very excited to see them in 2025 for the first time for this warm-up event. And the first guy that I'm going to highlight is, of course, the Dinger himself, AJ Allmendinger, back in the Cup Series full-time for 2025. He's been around forever as the Dinger. I absolutely love AJ. I want to see him do well around this track. He does tend to do better around actual like road courses and stuff. He doesn't do quite as well around ovals, but you know, he'll just want to keep his nose clean, you know, and just get used to the car, get used to driving full time in the Cup Series. Of course, he did make some appearances last season as well, but you know, this is his first time actually being in the car in Cup Series trim properly for an entire season since, I believe, 22 or 23. It's been a few years since he's been out anyway. So yeah, I'm very happy to see him back in the Cup Series, and I'm also happy to see in the Cup Series for the first time as well Shane Van Gisbergen. And I say first time, I mean first time as a full-time driver. Someone who's very, very excited. Of course, he won on debut in Chicago a couple seasons ago. He was very unfortunate as well with the way it ended last year too. He's a guy who's been making waves as well in the Xfinity Series. He's someone who I'm really, really excited to see full-time in the Cup Series. I'd love to see if he can make the playoffs, and I want to see what he can do around an oval as well. He's, again, another driver that's stronger around of the road courses, but SVG is somebody I really, really rate highly. I think he's a superb talent, and I can't wait to see him in this event as well. Just to warm up for the season. Our first full season in the Cup Series too. A long, long way for the first Cup Series season for Kyle Busch. He's another guy who's been around for a long, long time. Of course, we know how unfortunate it was for him last season, you know, missing out on the playoffs, never quite really there. I mean, he was so close to victory and getting into the playoffs at different points of the season, but very disappointing season from him, of course, on the whole. And he'll be hoping for a lot better in 2025 too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I want to see what he can do. I want to see him get a win again this year. I want to see him get a victory again. It's been a long, long time. So yeah, I want to see what he can do, and I'm excited to see him around this event as well. Austin Cindric. Now, there's quite a few drivers from North Carolina, of course, being from the southeast in America, the deep south as it were. Despite this being in North Carolina, it's still very much the south. And one of the local drivers I'm highlighting is Austin Cindric. Now, I'm highlighting Cindric because he's a guy who only just got into the playoffs last time around, and he just made waves. He just made absolute waves in that championship. Really got out of the traps very quickly. I think he made it through to the final 12 and didn't go any further after that. But he's a guy that I'm really seeing improving year on year, and I want to see what he can do this season for Penske, of course, as well. And the final driver I'm highlighting are totally not controversial champion Joey Logano from last season. Obviously, yeah, a lot of changes need to happen when it comes to the playoff system. It's still going to be the same this time around, and of course, Logano's full advantage of it last year. But in this warm-up event, let's see what he can do. Let's see what Logano can do around this event, and let's see what all the guys can do. You know, it's going to be a really, really good race. I'm hoping just, you know, no major incidents. It's good to see us back in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for this event. So yeah, let us know, guys. Are you tuning in for this event this weekend? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your pick for the win? I'll just say someone I've not said so far. Let's go with Kyle Larson. Why not? You know, I feel like he was the best driver throughout most of the season last season. I don't think that's a controversial opinion at all, and I want to see him get a championship again this time out in NASCAR Cup Series. So yeah, see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. Of course, we'll be here to review all this action here on the NASCAR Chronicle. It'll be Monday morning my time, so by the time you guys are up and awake on Monday morning in America, it'll be already out then. So yeah, stay tuned for that. See you soon.